Some things are just tricky to clean up, and you'll see an example of that here. My best method for cleaning gasket, head gasket or other engine surfaces that are tricky to remove old sealers or gaskets from. So what I'm using here is a selection of safe materials. What I mean by that is don't go hacking away on this with a screwdriver or a chisel or something, because you'll end up just annihilating the surface that you want to keep prepped for your next sealant and gasket. So you've already seen a couple of overlays here of the things I'm doing. Firstly, I used a plastic scour. Now this is like not a chisel, but like a bit of pointiness which lets you get onto the surface without damaging or scratching it. I ordered a few of these on Amazon. They're not that expensive, and a pack of 10 of them come in very handy. I've also got a plastic scraper which I used a bit later. Now what we want to use is, I used Goo Gone. It was like a good option because it didn't smell of fuel or that chemical smell. It's got a Goo Gone is basically like an adhesive remover. So I sprayed down onto the surface. I left it there for a bit and started scraping with the plastic scrapers. This whole process maybe took about 3 hours. So it was intensive. If you have a trick or a better way of doing this, let me know in the comments, because I've seen a few people use different things. You'll notice I'm using a fire. I'm using oil, like a flame. That's probably a better way of describing it. I'm flaming up the gasket, heating it up. Some people say it burns it off. That didn't really work for me, but it did loosen it up, so I was able to take it off. You'll see here, kind of slowly progressing. But as I did more and more of this, I've got a little trick for you that you'll find interesting. I have a brass wheel, which I ordered originally, and that goes on your drill. I was able to use that to loosen this up a lot more better than the actual flame was. So I found, rather than using up gas and buying a flame, or if you have like a torch in a garage, you're okay, but using up that kind of energy, you don't need to. What I was able to do was I was able to use the drill with that brass bit. You can also get brass brushes, and that loosens it up. So you'll see here, like I got a few different things to test out everything, so I can see what makes it easy. Because if you've come to this point, you'll know getting gasket off, oh my god, it's like a tricky thing. But I found these ones worked a lot better because they're a lot firmer, so you could put a bit of power into them. The plastic scraper, like the one you saw, the orange one, that wasn't as great. That's more designed for stickers and removing, but you can see both of them in action. This kind of goes over it, whereas the other, it looks like a plastic chisel. So goo and adhesive remover, you can see in the back, Goo Gone spray gel. Smells of oranges, quite nice. But is it worth it? I don't think it is. It's about $9.99. It's quite expensive for what it is. I think I could have just used like fairy liquid or something and it would have done the same thing. But I'm sure it's done something just I didn't know about it. So I might do another one of these with the fairy and see and compare, was the Goo Gone any good? I just saw another video on it and someone used it. I thought, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So we tried it. So with this, what you want to do is work in sections. Start from one corner and slowly work your way around. You'll see at the starting, I kind of showed you a picture of the one side done and one side not done. And I was quite impressed. It didn't scratch up the surface. I didn't have massive gouges in the aluminum gasket sealing location. And yeah, so it works quite nicely. Just take it in sections and work it with these little things. So plastic scours will work well. Aluminum is quite soft, so you can use a brass. I'll do like a bit of time lapse of this so you can see the full thing from start to finish, and you'll see all of that section. So the gasket came off, and then I used a brush and removed it bit by bit, and as it worked out, it actually got a good surface for my next application. I used a drill with the brass on. You can see that in these updates, and overall it works very nicely. Just keep an eye on these little surfaces because they can be tricky to get into, and have a good light so you can actually see which bits you've done and which bits you haven't done, and every now and again wipe it off. So you'll see as it gets to a point where you get something remnants of like a hard one, which is harder to take off, I used the drill just to loosen it up a little bit, and then the scour, which I used for the pistons as well. That's a steel scour, and it actually worked quite nicely, and it got all the little bits off that I wanted to get off. So I was very pleased with this, and I was like, okay, it took 3 hours, but you know what, it was satisfying. I saw it a total mess, and then as I got to the end, I was like, okay, I took the time, spent my time doing it, and I worked it little bit by bit, and it was satisfying to see that it all worked out nicely, and now it's ready for the next section. But remember, I have to do the flip side of this and the engine as well, so we've got quite a lot of these to do. When they do engine rebuilds, they don't tell you this, but it actually takes time. So a lot of this you've seen on camera is like probably 4 or 5 hours sped up, and then I did another 4 or 5 hours in between the filming as well. So like I filmed the key moments, but there was a lot of work that needed doing. Some people say you can leave some of it behind, but I kind of wanted to get all of it off to make it as clean as possible. Right side was done, left side needed a bit more work, and glue gun did work okay, so I was pleased. I'm hoping you're kind of keeping in track with my progress on this rebuild of this old Honda motorcycle. You will see another video on screen of what comes next. So I'm actually doing the piston rings and getting everything sorted out for a nice motorcycle that is going to be a vintage bike back on the road, and we're going to be having absolute parties on it. If you're enjoying this series, make sure to subscribe so you actually get notifications directly to your phone each time I load a new episode. I've got loads of videos planned for this bike when we get it back on the road, so it'd be good to have you along on the journey with me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video right here.